Hey guys, we are back with picking up after the flood. So we have had the flood and we have gone through the entire process, and then the ark has been emptied. And then there is a discussion of God's covenant with man at this point, and that he is not going to destroy his earth again by water. And God gives us this, and the rainbow is placed into the sky as a promise, as a reminder to God. When he sees it, he won't flood the earth. And when we see it, again, I always think we should repent. I think if every time God really had to remind himself not to kill us all, we were all truly and authentically apologetic for the things that we have done to break his heart, I think we end up with a whole different type of society, whole different type of situation. And I am hoping that, you guys had an opportunity to practice that. There has been some rain, there has been a rainbow, there has been something that has come through your life that has given you a space to really openly repent and move differently after you say the words. But we are going to pick up at the 18th verse of Genesis chapter 9. So we're just going to keep going right after that, from the end of where the covenant was discussed and the rainbow was placed and there's an agreement. We're going to jump right back into Noah and his sons. So the first thing that we see in Genesis chapter 9, still first book of the Bible, ninth chapter now, we're going to jump down to the 18th verse. We're going to finish out this chapter. The first thing that we see is a discussion of the three sons of Noah. So there is Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. We keep seeing that repeated, and we're going to deep dive into that as we move further into the book of Genesis and the following books, the first 5 books or so of the Bible. But we're going to talk a little bit about it today, just so we have an understanding going forward of what we're looking for. So it tells us from those 3 sons, all the earth was repopulated. All the people come from this family, these 3 sons of Noah. And so in verse 20, we see Noah was a gardener. It says he is a man of the soil. So he created a vineyard. He went ahead and planted some seed, and he has planted a vineyard. And after a time has passed, just because we go from verse 20 to 21 does not mean they happen all in the same day. Time has passed, and he has planted a vineyard. He has grapes. He made himself some wine, and it was some very good wine. And Noah drank it, and he became drunk. So I hear a lot of times people saying, well, when we talk about the list of people that God has used, Noah was a drunk. I don't think Noah was a drunk. I think he got drunk. There is a difference. This was not an everyday addiction behavior part of his life. I can't see that in the text. I can't see it in the Bible. But what I do see is that he got drunk. And sometimes we don't want to be remembered by our worst mistake. And I'm certain that Noah doesn't want to be for everything. God said he was a righteous above everybody else. He wiped the whole earth of people with the exception of him because of how righteous he was and how faithful he was. So I don't want to take away all that faithfulness and put he was a drunk on it. He got drunk. We have all made some singular mistakes. They have been major mistakes in life, but they have been mistakes nonetheless. And I want to make sure that we are not capitalizing on the fact that he made a mistake, because that's all I have evidence of right here by reading this. A mistake. It didn't say he got drunk regularly. It said he got drunk this one time. And so he got drunk and passed himself out naked. He has gotten good and wasted. And Noah finds himself passed out in the nude, in the buff. And in verse 22, it says Ham, the father of Canaan. Again, we are differentiating this for a reason, and we're going to jump down and get to that, and we're going to talk about it. But Ham, the father of Canaan, is one of the sons. And he came and saw his daddy passed out naked. And what he does is he runs to tell his brothers. He didn't cover him up. He didn't fix the issue. He didn't say, oh, man, daddy, you too far, man, and still guarded his tent to make sure that nobody came in or that nobody messed with him or that he was even okay. He ran and told his brothers and was like, hey, yo, daddy is passed out naked in his tent. He done got drunk. He done messed himself up. He done got drunk. He is passed out and he ain't got no clothes on. And that was the absolute wrong thing to do, because why would you want to embarrass your parent like that? Why would you, even if they were, because he got caught up in something that he shouldn't have been involved in. Noah was not in the correct. He was not in a good space. But why would you want to embarrass him if you have the space to restore him? If you have the opportunity to correct him or to help him to understand that he's made a mistake? Why would you want to embarrass him? Like, let's take the opportunity to uplift each other. So he tells his brothers, and what his brothers do is what probably should have happened in the first place. They walked in, they put a blanket basically over their shoulders, and they walked backwards so that they were covering their father without ever looking at him. Let's give him some dignity. Cover them up. We understand today was not a good day. They not all gonna be good. And let's just cover him up and make sure that he's protected for the night, that he's okay. And so when he wakes up in verse 24, when Noah wakes up, he was like, I know it was him. I know it was him. I know, because he woke up with a blanket on. He knew he didn't go to sleep with one on. And so he's like, somebody's up to something. And so once he understood what happened, he knew it was his son. So in verse 25, it says he cursed Canaan. So we're going to talk about it for a half a second right here. He cursed Canaan. It says the lowest of slaves he shall be to his brothers. Canaan is the son of Ham. Ham is the one that was over here embarrassing his daddy. And in verse 26, he says, blessed be Shem and let Canaan be his slave. Verse 27, God makes space for Japheth and let him live in the tents of Shem and Canaan be his slave. So he made Canaan the lowest of them all. When they got off the ark, God blessed the people that came off the ark, the 8. It was Noah, his wife, and each of his 3 sons and their wives. They were blessed. If God blesses you, you can't undo that. What God puts on you is on you. You can't undo it. You can't take that out. You can't change it. It's just what it is. But in this situation, Noah, said, because your father is a whole fool and acted foolishly when he found my situation, instead of him doing right by me, his father who has raised him right and put good in him, and instead of just helping me in my time of need, in my mistake, in my falling, in my failing as a upright man of God, instead of restoring me, he embarrassed me. So because of that, he was like, he gonna be the least of his brothers. And because God had already blessed Ham, it just passed down. So his people, the curse was not on Canaan the son, it was on the people, which we find when we go into the later chapters, once the promised land is gifted or granted to them by God. When they go into their promised land, it's the land of Canaan. It's the land of this people. The Canaanites are the people who are destroyed and removed from this land. It is what they've worked for their whole life, over generations and grown, that is actually taken from them for the descendants of the 2 other brothers who honored their father in his foolish time. So this is a situation where generations go by, and trust me, these people were given opportunities to make some things different, to do some things the right way. They had an opportunity to have God the same way everyone else did. But this was a space where God allowed Noah to curse the future of these people. We're going to dig deep when we get into Joshua, when they move into the land, when they go through the battles. When we talk about it in Exodus and Deuteronomy, it's in there mostly. Numbers, real deep in there. We're going to talk about this a little bit more. But this right here is a curse on the inhabitants of that land. This is foreshadowing to the Israelites, or the people of God, coming into the land of Canaan. This is the land that's being built. This is where that punishment is going to fall. And so that is the end of that story. Like, it's not super involved. There was a situation where Noah failed, and instead of honoring his father and doing right by him, his son was like, "Hey, look at daddy, he in here, toe up." And what we have to be careful of is just an application, taking this story and making sure that we are applying it to our lives in the right way. Is when we find somebody who is our brother, our sister, a mother, a father, an elder, a minister, somebody younger than us, when we find somebody in a situation where their sin or their downfalling or their failing in life is visible to others, instead of pointing it out and continuing the gossip, instead of pointing it out and drawing attention to it, let's restore them. Let's do what we can to cover them in prayer, to cover them in the needs that they may actually have. Sometimes these things, you got to imagine what Noah had. Like, Noah had a full life. And in one day, there was a rain started, and then there was a flood, and everything he knew was gone. Everything. Every brother, sister, cousin, his parents, his family, everything is gone. Everything he built outside of this ark is gone. That could be huge. It could be devastating. It could have been that he just really had a great vineyard that he planted, and these grapes came out fantastically, and this wine was amazing. It was the best wine he's had in years, and he just got carried away. It may have been accidental. It may have been based on grief. It may have been based on anything, but what he did was he failed. And when his son saw that he failed, instead of restoring him, instead of covering him, instead of praying for him, instead of sitting watch with him and helping him walk his way through this, he went and gossiped. He went and told somebody about it to embarrass him. So let's make sure that we are covering each other. Let's make sure that we are restoring each other and treating each other fairly, and that we are going out of our way to be the person that we needed when we were in those situations. There's not been a time that we've ever been out and in some crazy situation, and we've not needed somebody to say, hey, this ain't you. You better than this. Come on home. This not you. You better than this. Let's go do something else. Let's do something different. So I have heard a lot of different interpretations on this. I'm not going to give them because I don't believe any of them to be true. So I'm going to walk with what I gave you. If you've heard something different, feel free to comment. Let me know, and let's talk about it so that we can make sure that we are researching and understanding the text correctly. But other than that, I think we are good to go. It rounds out on this with Noah living for 350 years after the flood. So he lived for 950 years. That's a long time. That's a lot of life. So I want you all to take this and remember to be kind to people when they're in their weak points, when they may not be at their best, because you never really know what they're going through. You never know what they need. Let's cover them in prayer. Let's cover them with sisterhood or brotherhood, with love, the love of God. Let's cover them and make sure that we're not leaving them out here exposed, telling the world about it. Y'all be blessed.